Hi, Assalamu alaikum, welcome back. It's me, the English Muslim mum. Sorry it's taken me a little bit longer than I had planned to film this next video. Life got a little bit busy, but here we go. So what I thought I would do is, I know my last video was sort of asking questions, but a lot of the questions are the same, which are basically obvious ones. How did you become Muslim and why? So I thought, you know what? It's going to be one of those things that everybody's going to want to know, so let's go with that first. So here is my Shahada story. Right back from when I was very little, actually I was 7 years old. I had two working parents, full-time working mum and dad, and what do? Living in the UK, you have a childminder. So my childminder would pick me up after school, and I was best friends with her daughter at the same age, in the same class. So this lady, she was a Pakistani woman. She looked after me after school every day, and then she would also have us during school holidays. She was my first really introduction to Islam and to a Muslim family. So I would witness them praying. The adhan would go in the house. They had one of those classic clocks with the adhan that sounds for prayer time, and so they would pray. And of course the cooking and just the atmosphere, even just like the decor, it was all very kind of traditional, and I just loved it. I loved her, she loved us. She treated us the same way as she treated her own children, and you could feel the love. She had two daughters. One, as I said, one was my age, one was a bit older, but they were very hard-working, educated, clever girls. They did their homework. I don't even remember having any homework, so goodness. But so of course we did play together, but I was with Auntie quite a lot, and I was probably at her apron strings. She knew I was watching her every time she prayed. She can feel my eyes at the back of her head probably. So she just asked me if I would like to join her. In that moment, that was like my invitation, and it opened my eyes to the fact that you don't have to be a brown person to be a Muslim, to come from a certain place. Like, Islam is available to anybody. Anyone can practice it. And it just that little gesture, she gave me a tiny little prayer mat like my children use now, and one of those like all-in-one hijabs that you just like slip on. I felt so special. I felt like, you know, she'd invited me into this really private, personal thing, and it was like, I don't know, it just made me feel really special. So I had been watching her for such a long time too. I'd memorized her movements. I knew to stand, to bow, to kneel. So I prayed with her that first time, and I just emulated her moves, and actually at one point I went ahead of her because I kind of wanted to prove to her, like, look, I already know because I've been watching you. It just opened my mind to the idea that a white girl like me, from a regular family, could even consider something, or being beyond what I had been raised to be. So prior to that, I always had this weird connection. I can't really explain it. Well, I can now, but I couldn't at the time. But I remember being about 5 years old, and I just had this really uneasy feeling sometimes, and I'd see, like I said, shadows or silhouettes in the window, and then I'd open the curtains, jump out of bed and open the curtains, and there was nothing there. And then we moved house, and this is where I don't want to share too much, but scary things happened. Jinn-like stories, not like full-on jinn stories. I've got so many. Perhaps one day I'll talk about it more. I don't know if it's a good idea. I've heard that it's not good to talk about it. So that's kind of a little side note. So that was yeah. You know, that always led me to believe, or even was quite overtly believe, that there's something more beyond what we could see. Was a bit of a joke in my teenage years that I had a poltergeist, because things would happen, and kind of kept it a little bit to myself, other than to particular friends at college. By the time I was about 16, I was able to speak to a couple of people that I knew would understand, because they were Muslim friends and I knew that that was something they believed in. So I was able to share that. But that's kind of maybe a story for another day, we'll have to see. But it's also really interesting, and I love hearing other people's stories because I know it's happened to me and I want to know what's happened to other people. So that's a side note. I'm looking over here because I've made notes, by the way, to try and keep me on track. Sort of every step of the way, I seem to have always had one Muslim sister to just sort of hang on to, and they've always been the people that I gravitated to anyway. Even when one friendship's ended for whatever reason, there's just been someone else ready, lined up, like Allah's plan, honestly. So then fast forward past college, I'm at work now, and I meet this guy. We met in the February, and the second time I met him, so I'd met him sort of casually the first time, we arranged to meet again. The second time he sort of was quite serious with me, quite honest with me right from the start, and then, you know, things got a bit more serious, and he sort of said to me, you know, look, we need to do this a halal way. I can't, you know, he is very God-fearing, and so that was February, and by April we had our nikah. So that was when I was 19, which is very young in the UK. My parents were slightly concerned, but I always made my own decisions. I was an actual rebel. I was never going to listen to my parents, and they full on knew it. So I think their sort of mentality was, let her do what she wants and she'll come back if it all goes wrong, and you know, and that'll be it. Obviously as well, we'd had a chat, my husband and I, you know, about what was important to me, how family was important. If we were to ever have children, they would have to be Muslim. I completely agreed. And actually during that time when so that second conversation we ever had, and he told me he was Muslim, it was like my heart just lifted. And I just felt this instant trust because he was Muslim. I just respected the fact of that he was so honest as well. I truly believe to this day, and even through all our ups and downs, it was Allah's plan. Allah literally put us together, and that is the be all and end. Alhamdulillah, we're very happy, and 20 years later, we've been married 20 years, and we're extremely happy, so Alhamdulillah. Yeah, so how did I actually become Muslim? Because even at this point, I haven't become a Muslim. I have been married to a man for, at this point, would have been 18 years. He obviously knew that I was a believer of sorts, and I think he always assumed I'd get there one day. Yeah, so actually it was me that held me back. I was the reason I didn't become Muslim, even though I kind of always knew it was the truth. Like I accepted it very early. I can't even tell you when, just over the years. And it was for me the idea of submitting to Allah, and I think that's really common with a lot of British reverts, to be honest. The idea of having to submit yourself, to humble yourself, to physically bow your head. You go through, you know, well, isn't it good enough? You know, I'm a good human being. I do my best every day. I'm a kind person, you know. Why should I have to follow this precise explanation of how to worship? But what really did it for me, so I ended up getting COVID, and I had it really quite badly. It just made me think, God, you know, what would happen to me? What if I didn't make it? I've got 2 children, I've got family, and what would happen to me if things went wrong, if I don't recover from this? What do I want for my future? What do I want for my future if I'm still here? And if I'm not here, what happens to me? You know? And I just knew. I believed. So I was like, in that 2 weeks, sitting there thinking, you know, what's holding me back? Why am I being so stubborn? Really, just COVID humbled me, and it made me realise, you know, there could be an end at any time. You don't know what's going to happen, and I know how I want to be buried, and I want to be buried, and I don't want to be cremated, and you know, all these things. And so I'd had a lot of time sort of, you know, even during the recovery period, just being on YouTube, which is another reason I want to film these videos, because it helped me so much. YouTube videos, so many people out there with their stories, and people honestly newer than me, like to the religion, people were like hearing about it, and within a year they had taken the Shahada and were new Muslims and starting this new life, and were on YouTube talking about it. And I was like, wow, what's wrong with me? Why have I left it so long? You know, I was living the deen and the life. I was eating halal from the beginning. Like when I met my husband, day one, he laid down the law to me too. No smoking, no drinking, we eat halal, blah, blah, blah. That was it for me. Fine, yeah. It was an inward thing. It was something that was personal to me, and it was between me and Allah, and I knew that he knew that I believed, but seeing other people just be so open and honest, it just made me think, yeah, like, why am I holding back? And I would want my family to know, if anything was to happen to me having been ill, I want them to know what my wishes were, and you know. So being ill in bed, I ended up taking my Shahada on my own in my room, and I just said it, and I just said it to myself, but I said it out loud, and so Allah could hear me, and just, you know, hope that that would be enough. And then I had some, like, I think I just had conversations. Did I have? No, I didn't have conversations with my friends, because yeah, it was like lockdown time, and I think I was just like dedicated myself to learning more, educating myself as much as I could. I think there's another thing as well of wanting to be that perfect person when you become Muslim, like feeling like you're not good enough yet, and you've got to wait till you know enough so you can take your Shahada and just be that perfect Muslim. And obviously over time kind of realised that that's not a thing. No, there's no such thing as a perfect Muslim. Like, I just started praying on my own, kind of when no one else was looking and was around. It's like that secret Muslim, even from my husband. I didn't tell my husband straight away. I just, again, I don't know, there's something about saying it out loud still, but I was acting on it internally and just digesting it myself and taking it slow. And yet another thing, that's a thing as well, see, I was like, I didn't want people to think I'd converted or reverted because of my husband. And that's another thing that held me back. I didn't want people to think I was just a revert because my husband was Muslim and I just reverted for him. That's another reason I think I took such a long time, because I kind of almost had to show my family, look, he lets me be me, you know, he's not forcing me. Yeah, it's silly, isn't it? But one day, I think it was Maghrib time, and I was running a bit late, so I'd kind of left it a bit too long, and my husband was going to be home soon, so I decided, all right, I need to quickly make my prayer. But lo and behold, the door rings. My son lets him in because I'm fully in the prayer, and I just decided to allow him to see me, to be honest. So he came in and he was calling my name because, like, where am I? And then he walked into the bedroom where I was, and he just saw me just fully in sujood, and he was probably quite shocked, kind of didn't really know what to say, and just slowly backed out again and kind of left me to it. Didn't say anything, he just left me to it. And then it just slowly became a bit more normal, and it was less awkward, and it just, yeah, and it's just all slotted in. And so now, alhamdulillah, it's been 2 years. 2 years since I've fully practiced Islam. It's been 9 months of me wearing hijab now. So yeah, that's kind of it really. So yeah, that's it for now. I will probably do another, like I said, another video explaining my family's reaction, reaction of my colleagues, kind of how I navigated all of that as well. But yeah, that's it for now. That's my Shahada story. I'm just sorry if that's really long. I have no idea. Hopefully it'll cut it down in the edit. But thank you so much again for joining me. I will do again also another video answering questions that weren't about that. But yeah, that's it for now. So thank you so much. I hope to see you again. Assalamu alaikum.